Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. Welcome back to Glowing Success. Today I want to talk about imperfect action. So this is definitely something that I feel like every business owner can struggle with at times, because we don't necessarily want to take imperfect action. We want to take the most perfect action that we can, right? So this will probably apply to many. The one thing I will say is every time I have taken imperfect action, I have never regretted it. And so if you're listening and you're like, Heidi, what are you trying to tell me right now? So imperfect action basically is like, we're not waiting for that perfect time, that perfect moment, that perfect amount of tools, that perfect skill, that perfect whatever you're reaching for in that perfectionism. We're not waiting for that to take action. And why I think this applies to business really well is because every business owner, to a certain extent, we're all kind of a little bit perfectionist when it comes to certain things, right? And I have done this. I've been a perfectionist myself, and I still am. And so I have to catch myself sometimes, and I'll kind of go into that of why I caught myself recently. But if we waited until everything was perfect to, let's say, start a business or release something or try a different service or bring in a different product or whatever you're going through, we're never going to do it, because your brain will talk you out of it, right? Your brain's will be like, that's too high of a risk. Oh, I don't know about this. Like, I'm not ready, right? Because really, essentially, we're waiting for somebody or something to be like, you're ready to take that action. But in reality, you're not going to learn, you're not going to get better, you're not going to go and move through those pathways unless you just start, right? So there's a couple examples of how this has shown up in my business life, and hopefully you'll get a chuckle out of them and laugh a little bit. So number one, when I first started my business, I did start my Sapphire Spa in beauty school. So I will say I did take imperfect action that way. But what happened was I got caught up on the details. So I was like, I can't tell a lot of people about my business until I have a really beautiful website. Or I can't tell people about my business until I have beautiful portfolio photos and, things like that. Where the reality is you just need to start getting the word out there, right? Because unless you start doing things, you won't have those perfect photos or any photos. Unless you start doing things, you won't know what needs to be added onto your website and why you need a website, right? So I did take imperfect action, caught myself up very quickly of like, I need to be perfect. And then quickly got reminded by my business coach of like, you're never going to have everything perfect. You just need to start being out there and getting out there as much as you can. So I'm really happy I did that. I'm really happy I just went forward. And you really learn a lot as you go through these things. So, all of these things lead to growth. So as you're listening to this, it's going to lead to business growth. It's going to lead to more clients booking with you. It's going to lead you into probably being the master of that service or getting to know that product really well, because you have to dive in there, right? It's all about progress over perfection, right? So the small consistent steps you can take will lead to all of those goals that you want to achieve, will lead to that success, will lead to more clients finding out about you and so forth. So I think we should try to normalize this, because I do think that, living on social media, seeing everybody's polished up videos, seeing everybody's, kind of polished up life, so to speak, is really not helpful when it comes to this mindset of taking imperfect action, because we are seeing the more polished side of things, right? We're not seeing people fumble through their business. We're not seeing people fumble through, marketing and so forth. I recently shared some videos on social media about how I fumbled through marketing. When I first started my spa 13 years ago, I had no clue, like, really who my ideal client was. I had no clue how to access people. I had no clue, like, how to bring people to my business. And so, what I did is I started taking imperfect action. I tried a lot of different ways to market. I kept track of the progress. I, kept going even through failure, and really paid off, right? I have a bustling business. I have had a team work with me. I've done so many great things throughout the last 13 years of my spa. So, and now I'm taking that same imperfect action with my coaching business. So I have the knowledge and tools. Sometimes we just don't know how those pieces fit together, right? At first, we're like, well, I have this, maybe you have an idea for a business, or maybe you have an idea of something. You don't quite know how it's going to work. You don't quite know the outcome of that, but you just need to start, right? So I knew a couple years ago that coaching was definitely going to be in my future. I felt called to it. I have coached many people over the years through different experiences. So I have taught people how to do lash extensions. I have been a boss. I have been a mentor in people's life. So I've done coaching, kind of interweaving in all those experiences, but really getting down to like dedicating some time and effort into coaching people and helping people really do the things that I've learned along the way. But I will say, starting this new business after having a business for 13 years is crazy, right? It's a little scary. There's a lot of things that I don't feel like I'm like have a handle on, right? I'm like, oh, well, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could offer this, or I could offer it this way. So it's not that I don't understand really what I want to do with my coaching business. It's more about like how to get there, right? The vehicles to get there sometimes. So for me, I really know who I like to my ideal client for my coaching business is new business owners. I really enjoy working with new business owners. I think it's fun. It's exciting. I have a lot of great information I can share. And so to me, I know, that to me is my demographic right there. That's my ideal client. And sometimes it's just about right now, I'm just finding the ways that people like to learn and absorb information, or how people really utilize this information immediately. So that's kind of where I'm like, I'm just taking imperfect action that way, because I know that people want this information. It would have helped me if I would have had this information compiled the way I'm going to be compiling it and have been. But, we can't think about that. But I'm just taking that imperfect action anyway, because I know regardless of what I do, whether you feel like it's a mistake or not, you're learning through that process, number one. Number two, you're probably getting more awareness than you think you are. So when you're taking imperfect action, that could look like, you posting a video that you didn't necessarily think you wanted to post, right? Right now, as I'm recording this podcast, I am recording myself on my phone. So I will be posting some of that content. And it's not going to be perfect. I kind of look, whatever, my hair's in a little braid today, but I'm going to post it because I know that regardless of if I feel like I'm set to offer, that video to the world, I'm going to do it anyway because I know somebody will benefit from it. And that's really where my goals are, right? So when I take imperfect action, I'm like, will this be helpful? Is this going to help me achieve my goals for my business? Is this going to, affect my ideal client the way I want it to, anything like that? And 9 times out of 10, you're going to come up to the answer of like, yes. So just release it, right? So release that video. And you see this a lot online right now about people taking imperfect action when it comes to marketing online. You'll have a lot of content creators just tell you, release the video, release the video. I see this a lot on TikTok more than Instagram, but you'll see people saying that, of saying, no matter what you think, just release it. People want to see it. So that's a perfect example of wanting to take imperfect action. Or, sometimes imperfect action just could mean like, I'm going to start doing a special thing for my clients, and I don't really know how it's going to work out. So maybe you're going to do a hot towel or something. That's okay. You just don't know how your clients are going to react or do anything until you start doing it. But how are you going to know that information until you really get to that place where you've tried things and you're trying everything you can? So get it out of your mindset of everything needs to be perfect. And, the more that you do it, the more we can start to, retrain our brain of how to think about that, right? Of what you can do to take it. One of the things I like to rely on too is different ideas. So like sometimes when I perusing the internet, or if I have an inspiration in the car, I try to do voice memos. If I'm on the internet, I like to save things, especially on Instagram. So that sometimes is a way that you can take imperfect action too, but get ideas, right? So like when we're taking imperfect action, sometimes we're like, oh, I have this idea, but I don't know how to really like put it out there. Or, so sometimes you do need inspiration to take imperfect action, and that's totally fine. And I will say, like, still do it anyway. So, like, I know for a lot of people on social media, they'll do sounds. Or let's say you're wanting to do in-person marketing more, because if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you know that I love in-person marketing and connections and collaborations. I think those are just amazing ways to market, and they bring in the clients that will come back to you. So, but let's say you're like, I don't know how to reach out to this person that's down the block for my business that I know a lot of my clients go to and so forth. You just have to take imperfect action. So just go up and introduce yourself in simple conversation, right? So take imperfect action, get those goals going, and I bet you'll notice some really positive things coming back to you once you start taking imperfect action. Thank you for listening. I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or tip that you can use immediately. Don't forget to download my free marketing checklist, which is in the show notes. And my episodes come out weekly, so I'll see you in the next episode.